few weeks ago in Afghanistan, a 16-year-old girl was brutally tortured by her 40-year-old husband, who cut off both of her ears, cut off her nose, poured scalding water all over her feet, shaved her head, and smashed her teeth with a rock. This occurred 3 months after their arranged marriage in Pakistan. Recently, an Egyptian-American Muslim father murdered his 2 teenage daughters. This took place in Dallas, Texas. Their aunt said that these were honor killings because the father had learned that the girls were dating, 16 and 17-year-old girls dating. Who ever heard of such a thing? You'll remember last month, Aksa Parvez in Toronto, Canada, was choked to death by her father for refusing to wear a hijab, the Muslim head covering. Also in Canada, a father killed his daughter and his wife after he found out that they had been molested by his very own brother. In San Francisco, a young Muslim woman was murdered for uncovering her hair and wearing makeup for a wedding. And last year, 20-year-old Banaz Mahmoud in Britain was choked with a bootlace by her father and uncle for leaving an abusive arranged marriage. In 2007, over 40 women in Basra were murdered for wearing Western-style clothing. And in Tehran, a father beheaded his 7-year-old because he suspected she had been raped and felt that he needed to defend his honor and dignity. Think about this, too. These are barbaric murders that are committed by parents of their very own children due to their religious convictions. The way of life for many Muslim women is lifelong house arrest and complete submission. They, in order to go out or to go to school or to travel, Muslim women need special permission. They also have to be accompanied by a male relative. In many Muslim countries, the movements of women are restricted. There are restrictions on their marital options, their professional opportunities. They often can't vote or hold office. Also, a woman's testimony is worth half that of a man's, and a son's inheritance is twice that of a daughter's. In order to defend herself against rape, a woman needs 4 male witnesses to corroborate her innocence. This is really astounding. In 1979, Pakistan passed the Hudud Ordinance, which actually punishes a rape victim for adultery. In Saudi Arabia, women can't drive, they can't eat in public, they can't work with men, and if they walk unaccompanied, they run the risk of being arrested under suspicion of prostitution. In Iran, it was recently announced that any women or girls who were interested in participating in the upcoming Olympics, they would have to find female coaches for their particular sport if they were going to be able to go. There was also a statement issued by the government that any women who don't wear the hijab, the Muslim head covering, should die along with their husbands and fathers. In many Muslim countries, genital mutilation is quite common, and this is used to preserve a woman or girl's chastity and to curb their sexual desires. The Department of Health in the UK recently completed a study of Muslim women and girls in Britain and found that over 66,000 had undergone this procedure, and this is a conservative estimate, 66,000 women and girls living in the UK. It was found that the procedure often happens at home, without anesthesia, on the kitchen table or the floor, using an unsterilized blunt knife, razor, or scalpel. Women can also be stoned to death for alleged sexual impropriety Since the revolution in Iran in 1979, thousands of women have been stoned to death. Quran-sanctioned beating is the rule rather than the exception for many Muslim women. And this includes wife beating, the beating of sisters and daughters. It's estimated that 90% of Pakistani wives have been beaten or abused for such offenses as cooking an unsatisfactory meal or failing to give birth to a male child. You would think in the 21st century, with our knowledge of biology, that people would know that it's the male who determines the sex of the child and passes the X or Y chromosome, but I guess that fact really has escaped the Muslim world. Following the example of Muhammad, the ideal man, child marriage is quite common. In fact, in Iran, the legal age for marriage for a girl is 8.5, that's 8.5 years old. And a marriage may be consummated if a girl has reached puberty. In a refugee camp in Afghanistan, this was pretty astounding, it was found that almost all the girls over second grade, yes, second grade, were married. Polygamy is rooted in the Quran and is becoming more and more common in Muslim communities in the West, especially in Europe. A Muslim husband may easily divorce his wife. I heard of a case recently where a husband divorced his wife with 3 textings, yes, textings on the phone, and they're not responsible for spousal support, and they can easily seize custody of the children. So here we have also sexual slavery. I might mention that sexual slavery is common. So we have genital mutilation, child marriage, polygamy, honor killings, stonings, wife beatings, arranged marriages, veiling. These are all features of the life of Islamic women in traditional Muslim societies. Well, today we're going to talk about the experiences of women in Islam from 3 different perspectives. She is currently working on a book about her experiences, The Escaped Prisoner, Why God is a Monster. Wafa Sultan.
Hello, everyone. I am so honored to be here today, and I would like to thank each of you for whatever you're doing to save this broken world. Women in Islam is a very painful subject for me to speak about. I wish I could express myself in English the same way I do in Arabic. So you can imagine how deep my wound is. But I promise I will do my best. Always I tell my audience that in order to win this war against terrorism, you have to bridge the gap between your culture and the Islamic culture and get to understand the Muslim mindset. I know from my experience, coming from totally different culture, it is very hard to do that. I tell you a story. My husband left to America a year before I did. Once he sent me a letter, and he said, Wafa, do you believe it? Today I saw an American woman climbing up an electricity pole to do some repair. I said to myself, my husband must be kidding. It was beyond my ability to comprehend, to imagine a woman can do that. And that's why I believe it's very hard for you to understand the examples of women that I am going to tell you about. My niece was 11 years old. when she